Righty. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? Yes. Steve here, The Varied Life. Morning breakfast shake. We're having a great time. And today we're going to talk about health and fitness fear mongering. Now, this isn't going to be a long video, so don't worry about that. But we need to stop this stuff. The fear mongering in health and fitness has reached unprecedented levels of anything that I've ever seen before. It is just amazing on how you can see a number of people that are making claims to, it used to be don't eat meat. It used to be the whole vegan thing and, don't eat meat, it's bad for you and it's killing you, despite the facts of the obvious. And then it got on to, well, don't eat, if it's not organic, that's bad for you. It's going to kill you. It's, trace metals and toxins and, all this stuff. Oh, there's wax on your apple. It's going to kill you and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's not how it works because there's a lot of problems. And then there's even people where people will pay thousands of dollars to attend a seminar where some guy, some jackwagon, says that all this stuff is bad for you, and then next thing you know, it comes out of his pie hole is muscle turns to fat. And it's like, oh my gosh, seriously. And that your muscles will liquefy if within a certain amount of hours or whatever. Actually, I saw a guy say that. Then it even gets into the worst extremes of where you have individuals that will make claims and say, all the vegetables are bad, or this vegetable's bad, and this is bad, and this is bad. Sugar's bad, and yet in his own supplements that he sells, there's sugar in it, it's just amazing. And a bunch of these people buy their followers on, I guess, Twitter, TikTok, or, whatever they end up doing. But there's enough ignorant people to support these idiots that it just amazes me. I think we are truly living in a time where the movie Idiocracy, Google it, and is now become a documentary because we have entered the stage where people will believe anything. Now there's a whole movement out there that says, oh, you should only eat whole foods and real food, real food, no processed foods at all. Nothing that's been processed is ever good for you, and it's only going to lead to your demise. It's going to cancer and this and that, and it's killing you and give you dementia and whatever. You're not going to live a full and happy life because of processed foods. And then you have idiots like Cali Muscle who come along and who was abused steroids, got a real big YouTube channel, and then now he had a health scare because he abused steroids and he had a couple of heart attacks, and but yet he's still doing TRT in big doses, and that's why he's still kind of the way he is, even though he shrunk down a lot. But now he's saying that meat's bad, protein's bad for you, it's a killer, creatine is bad for you, it has no redeeming qualities. And we get this constant fear-mongering in the realm of health and fitness, and people who are ignorant and just unsuspecting people look up to these people on the interwebs and socials and say, oh, well, that sounds right, without any proof. And unfortunately, we get a generation of people who will do a watermelon diet for 30 days and say, oh, that's healthy for you, or, oh, I'm cleansing by doing this diet or that diet. No, that's why you have a kidney and liver that's does all the detoxing there is, or the people that say, oh, if you eat processed foods, you're going to have 10 or 20 pounds of undigested poo in your, in your intestines and your colon and impacted and it doesn't get out. Yeah, that's not a thing either. Anyway, so one of the biggest things that I see, and these are some of the people that do them, these people right here, in Cali Muscle, and there's a number of others that come on and they make some fantastical claims. They'll have some truth, but they'll make some other fantastical claims that goes against the grain. They're really contrarian when it comes to us versus them, and of course they're the epitome of health and fitness and so on and so forth. But yeah, these the claims that they make of saying that processed foods are bad and all of this is bad. I can't read we've seen it on social media that you'll have idiots that will read the ingredients and can't even pronounce the names of the ingredients because they're in scientificese, and it's like, no, that's dextrose, or no, that's riboflavin, they can't even pronounce the words correctly, and yet they're trying to make claims of, this is bad for you. If you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't eat it because it's bad for you. Yeah, that's really not how that works. Or the other one is, if insects don't eat it, it's not good for human beings. So you're equating that the human genome, our bodies and cells, and what it needs to survive, you're basing that off of a lower life form, an insect that doesn't have the same requirements as us, and some of them eat rotting flesh and poo. Really, you're going to go with that? We're really going to stick and hang our claims on an insect that eats poo, and you won't eat processed food and blah 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 blah. The margarine thing. That's the one that gets the most. Insects won't eat margarine. Well, yeah, there's a reason why, because it's high in oils and it's kind of salty and there's no sweetness to it. Yeah, there's. I don't know. It's the memes that go around that just boggle the imagination for me at least, and apparently not for these other people that follow him with millions of followers. But yeah, these people here they're fear mongering and they're making money off of unsuspecting people. So they'll get their fanboys and fangirls that will support these people and say, oh, but it's true, it's this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Don't eat protein powder, don't eat this, don't eat that. I've actually seen some people say, don't eat vegetables. I don't eat meat and don't eat vegetables. So really, what are we supposed to eat? That kind of, there's so many contradictions out there, even with just single individuals. It's like, oh, sugar's bad for you, and then sugar's not bad for you, and don't ever have sugar because added sugar is bad for you. But then the protein powder that they sell has added sugars, and it's just like they can't keep their story straight, and it's all about fear mongering because for some reason people want to feel special, and so when you can identify and pass off information as being you're more educated than the others, than the plebes and in the lower people down below you have been blessed with this information, that makes people feel good, and so they jump on that train and they just start parroting all the same stuff that these idiots say. The problem is with all of this comes down to life expectancy. If you listen to these people, excuse me, it's all the processed food I've been eating. If all of these things that these people were saying were true, that processed food is the killer of everything that ails us, and it's going to send you to an early grave, why don't we look at life expectancy? Yeah, life expectancy. We have the best, because according to them, processed foods are the killer, and we should be eating like back into, the 1800s, 1900s, early 1900s, because that was real food. That was real healthy. It had all the vitamins and all the minerals, and we were more healthy back then. And but yeah, life expectancy shows that's not the case. And matter of fact, life expectancy is the best ever. So here is this chart here from ourworlddata.org talking about life expectancy in the world. And we're starting back in the 1700s, and you can see, the Americas life expectancy was 34.8 years. You see in Africa is 26.4, and as we continue on, Europe and the world was 28 years. Europe was 33 years. We go on to 1820, 35 and 29. We get to the 1850s. We can see, in Europe it's 36, Americas was 35, world was 29.3 years. Yeah, so in other words, you graduated high school, you're basically middle aged, and you're heading towards the decline. Even into 1870, we can see, the high was 36 years. Life expectancy in Europe, which was kind of the mecca of the world, which had, the best things to offer, you're only, averaging 36.2 years. We continue on into the 1900s. I've actually had people tell me we need to eat and like what they did in the 1900s. And it's like you realize that in America, the America's life expectancy was like 41 years. In the world, it was 32 years when you do that. Oceania, Europe, 42 years, 47 years, you might hit 50. No, if that's the case. But as we get into the later times, like 1913, we get into World War I, then shortly after that, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, all of that stuff. We see this departure from these supposedly superior natural food sources, whole foods and organic foods, with all the nutrients and all the minerals and all the vitamins, and that have been stripped away in the processed foods that we have today. Even back then in the Americas, your life expectancy was like 45 years old. In the world, it was 50, or in Oceania, it was 51. Europe was 46.8. In the world, it was still 34 because so many things were lagging behind. But that is in 1913. And then we get up to 1950. So in 1950 in the Americas, life expectancy was 58.1 years. Now, wait a second. During the time from World War I, because we started getting into, the World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, we kind of went from an agricultural society into more people living in cities. We started to see that migration, and eventually, instead of big, huge, giant farming communities, we had smaller farming communities, and more people worked in the cities, and the Industrial Revolution and things, and the need for preservatives and processed foods so that they would last longer, so we could have the food, process the food so it would have longer shelf life, so that we could send them to the cities and to all the other people in our nation, so that they could eat. And guess what? Life expectancy started going up. But this was the dawn of the processing of foods, which, according to all these, people were like, you should be dying right now. You should be, you shouldn't be having life expectancy of, we shouldn't be getting an increase in life expectancy. It should be going down, according to them. And we continue on into, 1970 in America's 64, and then it went up to 70 in 1989, here in the Americas anyway. And then you go up to 1990 in Americas, it was 70. And then we get up to, let's see, where do we hit in the Americas? We start getting to the place of where we are now. Let me see if I can get the little thing to go on there. In the Americas is 74.8 years. And that's in 2021. So the new data hasn't come out for 2022, 23, and then now we're in 2024. But we're regularly seeing a dynamic upward climb in life expectancy. And on top of the life expectancy, and it's not saying that, you're only going to live to 74. We're seeing a ton of people who have a way better quality of life. And according to these idiots, it should be the exact opposite. This graph should be switched with the processed foods, and there should be a decline in life expectancy, but that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing people, more importantly, not only an increased life expectancy, but we're seeing a better quality of life for people as they age. So, I just think back to my great-grandparents. And even though they lived into their 70s and so on and so forth, and even their parents before them, they died at a younger age. But at their senior years, their quality of life wasn't as good as compared to seniors that we have today. And it got so much to the point of where the quality of life and the health of seniors has gotten exponentially better that Social Security raised the age limits to the point of saying, hey, people are living too long and they're living too good, and so we're not going to give them their Social Security. We need to kick that can down the road so when they get older, so we don't have to pay out as much money. Yeah, it's to that point of where our own government said, yeah, we're paying way too much money because the seniors we have today are more healthy and they have a better quality of life than any other time in history. So this whole thing of these people, coming up and these people here saying, oh, yeah, processed foods are bad and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and that, processed foods have all the vitamins and nutrients leached out or bleached out of they're all processed out of these foods, and there's not as many vitamins or minerals as we had back in the 1900s. And remember, the 1900s, life expectancy in America's was 41 years. So basically, we have basically added about 30, 35 years, maybe 40 years onto our life expectancy. So I find it hard to believe that if processed food was so bad and so dangerous, then why is our life expectancy at the best it's ever been in the history of mankind? I'm just throwing it out there, just asking a simple question. There have been advancements in medicine and so on and so forth, but the majority, if you go to fact-based evidence, you'll find that it is because of the food that we have that is way better for us than the food we had back in the 1900s. Definitely way better than the 1700s. We have things that protect us. We have things that have been fortified, added iron and iodine and, iodine salt and so on and so forth, to help with iodine deficiencies. We have added minerals and nutrients to foods because we weren't getting them before, and that resulted in a low life expectancy. Infant mortality rates, you can look at the same thing. According to these people, if you have a ton of processed foods, all that's going to be passed on through the mother and the breastfeeding and then onto the child, and the child's going to be a half step behind from everybody else. But we're seeing babies don't die as much as they did in the past. It is so much better today. I actually had somebody tell me that 150 years ago, we should be eating what they were eating because people back then were so much healthier. Not according to life expectancy charts, not according to infant mortality rates. It's kind of like, it's like, if you were the awkward kid with zits and pimples and the whole nine yards, would you want to go back to high school, junior high and high school? Absolutely not. I'm living my best life now. I am 57 years old, and there's a huge difference in my quality of life at the age that I'm at compared to my grandparents, and then definitely compared to my great-grandparents and my great-great-grandparents. We are way more active. Their health and fitness is important and so on and so forth. But for these people to hang their hat upon processed foods is killing America, and all of these things that they spout, you need to do this and that, and don't eat protein shakes, and blah, the creatine's bad for you, blah, it's absolutely insane to hang your hat on saying processed foods are bad, and when evidence points to the opposite. I just thank God that we're in a time where we have so many advancements in food, nutrition, exercise, and medicine that we are experiencing the best life that we can have as any other time in history. There's a number of diseases that can be treated and cured, or, at least maintained, so it gives us a better and longer life and a better quality of life as we get older. Whereas in the past, you just, we're just going to write you off. We're just going to kick the bucket on you. We don't have anything to treat you. A lot of people died and had deficiencies and were smaller because they didn't have the proper nutrition. So hanging your hat and saying, processed food is the killer of the world. No, it's the exact opposite. So be careful of fear-mongering. Be careful of the people that are contrarian, that try to say, anything that is processed is bad. And usually what you'll find is that these wackadoos and others like them will often be promoting some type of supplement, some type of vitamin regimen, some type of nutrient. They're selling something, and it hinges upon being going against the grain of what everybody else is doing and making fantastical claims like, processed foods is killing us as a nation. And yeah, we saw that that's not the case. We see these high rates here. These high rates right there. Yeah, compared to 1870s, 1900, where it's like 41 years compared to 74. That's like 30 years, 30 some odd year improvements. Yeah, it's that's what's going on. So anyway, I just wanted to bring out this video and give you my 2 cents on this. And don't get wrapped up in this whole foods or organic thing and that, you only need to eat real foods, and protein powder is bad, creatine's bad, this is bad, that is bad, processed this and that is bad. I've actually seen people say that vitamins are bad for you in fear mongering, and yet they sell supplements that will provide you what the normal vitamins, and because it's all a conspiracy, they're not giving you the real vitamins, the real nutrients, the real micro whatever flip switches things that will supposedly give you a better life. And yeah, it just fails horribly. When you look at it, anybody can, for those of you who don't know, anybody can start a supplement company. Supplements are probably one of the least regulated things in the United States and the world. But especially in the United States and other parts of the world, it's even less. To slap on a bottle, a label on a bottle, put your picture, put some claims on there, do some TikTok and social media, and get the ball rolling, buy some subscribers, and as long as you can get views and advertise, saying, this is going to be more bioavailable than anything you could buy in the store, and, kind of like, it reminds me of that Dr. H rejoint. That guy is absolutely insane. There's a study, and let me see if I can find the information on that. DRH. No, that's not it. Yeah, it was Dr. H. Rejoint study. Just finished reading a study. Now, this is going to be interesting because I just finished reading a study that the participants were basically surveyed before and after. They call it an interview. And there was no supporting evidence, no blood panels, no physical assessments, no measuring, no functional mobility or range of motion testing, just self-reported info, and this is the lowest data you can get. So in other words, one guy who was selling supplements, Dr. H, for his rejoint supplements, and it's only him, and he had 12 people. 12, just 12 people. Not thousands, not hundreds, 12 people. And it ends up that, most studies will do, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months a year. Many studies will go into decades before they do the math and do the testing and collate the evidence and all that stuff to come up with a conclusion, unbiased conclusion. And this guy comes up, it was 13 patients involving 27 self-reported pain sites, and 5 males, 8 females with a median age of 58, and this study was done over a period of 2 weeks. So in other words, he gave some people some stuff and said, we're doing a study, and this is what ails you, and this is going to help you with your joints and your aches and pains and so on and so forth. And these people said, okay, we'll do it. And then, the pain sites that they have weren't even diagnosed by a doctor as being anything other than, maybe they're just old, maybe they had arthritis, but we have no idea because it was never diagnosed to begin with. That is very terrible science, because you get to a point of where it's like, well, would it be possible that some of these people lied that, I'm in pain, and I'm in pain, and I took this thing for 2 weeks of supplement, I feel so much better. You think people want to get some clout by doing that? Getting some attention by being part of a study when really it's a survey? Yeah, and in this study that Dr. H did for his rejoint thing, it ends up that pain is very subjective, by the way. I don't know if you know that. And there's no testing for the placebo effect for this Dr. H rejoint compound. Control groups, there was no control group. which is a very ethical issue when you talk about doing testing. Like in studies, there are 4 types of control groups: active group, placebo control group with restrictions on supplementation, placebo control without supplementation restrictions, and placebo control with rescue repletion therapy. The first 2 types highlight discrete ethical issues. Active control trials limits the ability to detect a difference. So in other words, if you're trying to scam over somebody for a supplement thing, you're going to go for that one. Placebo-controlled trials that restrict supplementation potentially place subjects at risk of undue harm. Okay. The final 2, placebo control without supplementation restrictions or with rescue repletion therapy, offer potential solutions to these ethical challenges. Now, that's a mouthful right there, but basically they're saying it's a red flag if they just do the first 2. Or it's even worse if they don't even test for a placebo effect at all. That is probably the worst of all. It is actually absolutely crazy. What are some other stuff? So there's no control groups. So basically it's a free-for-all. Anybody can claim anything that they wanted, whether they had the ailments or not, whether there was actual physical improvements in those 27 pain sites or whatever it was, which, by the way, wasn't ever documented or measured or with blood panels or MRIs or x-rays or any type of diagnostic testing or measuring things. Another problem is that the author determined how the author determined the participants, those 13 people. The guy who was selling these supplements did the study himself. In other words, it wasn't peer-reviewed. It was just him, and it was a biased study. It was not done by a disinterested party, which is interesting because if you read real studies, you will see things that will say disclosure, was there a conflict of interest, like does the person who or the people who participated in running this study, are they connected to the company for the product that they were testing? Good studies will include that. This study didn't. You'll see in the end of disclosure statement talking about the conflict of interest. So in conclusion, it's a very flawed study. And what's interesting is even if you go to Amazon, you'll find Dr. H Rejoint has like 3 or 4 positive reviews, and that's from like 2016. So he couldn't even get the original 13 people that claimed that they got better by using his supplements for 2 weeks to leave positive reviews. He was only get like 3 or 4. So yeah, it's the fear mongering, and of course people will jump on that and say, oh well, you need to use Dr. H, and oh by the way, I'm an affiliate and I get some kickbacks, but no money will come out of your pocket. But that's what I use, to help me with my aches and pains. Even though there is zero evidence of that working, factual evidence. Now, maybe the person taking it, who's doing the affiliate program, it is entirely possible that they're just having a placebo effect. But we won't know because the guy who's selling the supplements never did a real study to check for a placebo effect. So it's entirely possible where they say, mind over matter and things like that, and or combined with the fact that the person's injuries who's referring this affiliate and this supplement, and he gets some kickbacks whenever you buy it, and maybe his injuries aren't as bad as what he thinks they were or are. See what I'm saying? But again, it's all about, your best life now, and this is what I use, and it's like, that's fine if you want to use it, but understand that can be a placebo effect, and what you're enjoying isn't real factual-based evidence. There's no measurable or demonstrable information or data that came out of that study that shows that actually worked. There's no double-blind study, 0. So that just doesn't hold, and it doesn't hold water. That dog don't hunt, and it doesn't even get off the porch. So the fear-mongering in the world of health and fitness, along with using fake studies and trying to sell you stuff, kind of go hand in hand because they need to have a hook. They need to have a hook to get you to click and see, well, look at me, and that'd be... I could ramble on and go on about how crazy and stupid this is. But again, like I said, they all go hand in hand. So you need to be careful with who you listen to. And just because somebody posts a study doesn't mean that is actually a good study. It's kind of like saying, a mechanic is good, so all mechanics are good. No, there are some very crappy mechanics. There's you can say that about law enforcement. You can say that about any occupation. You can also say it, about basically anything. So what we need is hard factual evidence and proof that these things work through double-blind studies, through studies that test and evaluate and are peer-reviewed and have, test for placebo effect, that they have measurements, procedures taken in, before, during, and after the test of this study to show that these things actually work. But like the Dr. H. rejoint thing, there's absolutely zero of those things. So just color me skeptical when it comes to fear mongering and some of these supplements that people are trying to sell. And then they get mad at you for pointing these things out because, oh, wait, yes, it interferes their income stream. Forget the fact that they don't have any actual evidence or data to prove that it works, aside from, a bunch of people say it works. If it was so great, the Dr. H. rejoint, then how come it's no longer sold on Amazon? How come it's not in like Walmart? How come it's not it? And then it starts getting into the conspiracy thing. Well, and it's just like, okay, please, let's deal with reality. Let's deal with facts, not with your feelings. And it could be entirely that whoever is selling and doing these affiliate links and referrals and all of these things is experiencing a placebo effect. I don't want, which is highly subjective to begin with, but yeah, it's not a way to run your life. We need to make intelligent and informed decisions when it comes to health and fitness, and fear mongering and all of this crap. We need to set it aside because it is not doing anyone any good unless you're buying the things and it's putting money in that person's pocket. So the more you know. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, put your comments in the comments section down below and tell me what you think about health and fitness fear mongering in health and fitness or with supplements, that is around health and fitness, and tell me what you think. I don't know. It'll be really interesting. All right. We'll see you on the next video. Peace. A bunch of idiots.